Hello, my name is Noura, and I am the research manager at Raagsan, a local female-led social enterprise in Somalia, sort of specializing in social accountability, research, and monitoring activities in Somalia. So basically, if I touch a little bit on the Interagency Humanitarian Evaluation, it was led by the Global Public Policy Institute, GPPI, led by the director herself, Dr. Julia Steets, and also the deputy team lead, Dr. Ilyas Sagmista. And then from the national side, from Raagsan side, I was leading the team on the ground as well. So the evaluation also looked into connectedness itself, connectedness referring to the extent to which short-term humanitarian aid was also linked with long-term recovery, resilience building, and sustainable outcomes, obviously. So the evaluation, the IHE sort of addressed the connectedness in different angles, number one, in different ways. So, for example, the evaluation tried to measure as well how aid influenced community preparedness for natural disasters in the future in terms of resilience and coping strategies, especially natural disasters that are common and recurring in Somalia, like the droughts and floods. And then the evaluation also utilized different targeting approach where the evaluation, when it comes to the methodology itself, targeted diverse communities in different hard-to-reach areas with different livelihoods, with different varying livelihoods like agriculture, some of them who are focused more on agriculture, some of them who are more focused on livestock, and how the natural disasters also affect them. So that was also taken into consideration because it was trying to assess whether the response also supported any kind of resilience in these different locations that are hard to reach areas. And in terms of the approach or the methodology that has been used for the connectedness, the overall basically approach that we have used for the evaluation sort of probably started with area profiling, or what you call context analysis for each district that we were working in. We targeted 13 different districts, including a lot of hard-to-reach areas in Somalia where it's very difficult to access, basically due to security challenges or any infrastructure challenge as well, but also other locations that are more mildly, or let's say medium and accessible locations. And then we try to conduct area profiling or context analysis in these locations, where we try to understand for each district the displacement patterns, what are the displacement dynamics, how frequent are people displaced to these districts, how frequent do they see newcomers, what are the main drivers for displacement, and all of that when we were looking into the area profiling. And then apart from the displacement, the area profiling approach we were also trying to gather more information on the political and economic dynamics in these districts, whether it's the livelihood and economic dynamics, and also whether it's the political side of it, who are the main local authorities in these locations, how is the power dynamics and power structure in each community as well. So we try to look into that, while we also decided together with GPPI, we came up with a more of a inclusive mixed method of collecting the data, not only focused on numbers with quantitative data collection, but also, since the evaluation was more focused on looking into a specific scale-up collective response in a specific time period, we sort of thought about how can we have more inclusive mixed method design, where we both have quantitative and data, but also have a more participatory, in-depth qualitative data as well. So we try to target different community groups when we were doing the methodology, designing it, and then doing the data collection with different angles. So, for example, we try to target with key informant interviews. We try to target people who have a very good insights in different areas of the community in each location. So, for example, we targeted people who have small businesses. We targeted people who have medium businesses. We also targeted to talk to people from religious leaders, civil society organizations, people who are from those focal points from the CSOs, community leaders in each of these locations, and also marginalized community representatives, right? Because it was also part of the main areas to look at how the HCT reforms have been affected by as well with the aid response. And then we also talked to the local aid actors, right, who were the major drivers of the response, especially in the hard-to-reach areas. And then apart from that, we also looked into speaking with focus group discussions. We organized organized focus group discussions with different community groups, starting both with and ITPs and host communities as well. And then again, sort of separating it in gender sensitive way, where we spoke with female IDPs and female host communities, but also male from both kind of groups as well. And then one important aspect with this approach was also that we spoke with the majority groups, community backgrounds with majority clans, and then we also had conversations with people from marginalized communities as well, separated, to also gather their insights about the overall response as well, and separately. So we spoke with the minorities and majority clans separately as well. And then apart from that, I think, and the overall analysis of the humanitarian action was also looking into that, whether the reforms, especially the aid diversion prevention, was also integrated into the overall response, and if it has improved any trust and sustainability with the communities as well. So that's the overall methodology that we have utilized. And the different tools that we have used when we were speaking with the communities. And there might be some gaps in terms of the connectedness, because the aid was repetitive and short-term relief rather than more of a and long-term kind of a relief as well. And then most of the things that we saw from the evaluation as well was that and the aid was also perceived as, there was some lack of integration with local priorities. Some of these community priorities, especially with the affected people that we've consulted with, told us that, some of the aid that they received was not only short-lived, but also it wasn't the priority for them. The kind of needs they had was not actually meeting with some of it. So these were the main things. And probably, of course, there will be always a challenge with, and looking into the connectedness when the aid was given, because of the, short project cycles, and also the immediate response that was started from there. I think the lessons learned on connectedness, I think we can divide it in two ways. One is the lessons learned from how the evaluation looked into the connectedness. I think there was a big value in the participatory mixed method that we used. I think it was valuable, and it has provided deep insight into whether the response was relevant in terms of inclusive, and also trying to address the connectedness within the evaluation, looking at it from different angles, the preparedness, and also targeting different communities as well, to see some comparison and with how the aid might have supported them in terms of and resilience aspect of it. But also what we were trying to learn as well afterwards, and especially and as a Raagsan as well, because we have been doing a lot of research as well after the evaluation, and we have done more evaluation and monitoring and activities in the same areas, is that a key lesson was that these discussions with the communities, which are more short one-off sessions, rarely usually capture community priorities. So even though it was quite evident from the evaluation that communities were telling us some of the main things, such as their priorities and needs, we have also learned through other aspects of our research as Raagsan. We have been learning the way that, when you communicate with the communities, especially communities that have research fatigue, that have been going through a lot of questions, with different agencies coming in, asking them a lot of questions, going through a lot of research fatigue and answering, and might not even always see some positive coming out from whatever they request. I think it reached a point where some communities might not be able to provide you a very good insight to their needs. And as we have all learned, I think the community is the expert of their needs, actually, not the rest of us. I think, and it is an assumption where if we provide communities with something we think they need, usually it might not always go the right way, especially when you're talking about connectedness. If you want them to be able to recover and be able to withstand any natural disasters that are coming up, I think looking into their priorities is the main angle to look at this. And I think what we have learned so far is that these short one-off sessions are not quite helpful. What we have learned so far is that you must be able to talk to these communities in multiple series of sessions, sit with them, facilitate different sessions, make it more participatory, engage them differently, talk to them in different days with different half days, more than 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, sort of to give them the safe space, to give them and to build their trust, where they can talk about their priorities and tell you, this is not what we need. If you want to help us be more resilient, this is what we need. So if you need to reach that level of getting that honest and transparent and feedback from the communities, you will need more than sitting with them 1 hour or 2 hours. You will need to establish a safe space for them, allow them to get used to the environment, allow them to get used to what you're offering, the questions you're asking, so that they will be able to next day or the third day be able to tell you exactly their kind of priorities. But going to them and using some extractive method is not usually always helpful. So that's what we were even doing when we were conducting the facilitated and focus group discussions with them as well. And like I said, I think community should be the expert and be able to provide their insights. And it wasn't a surprise when we learned from the evaluation, from the one of the evidences and the findings we were learning, is that they were telling us the aid that they have received was not exactly what they needed.